It was good. I'll tell you a little bit of what I said. I don't know if I told you what I said. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit of what I said on Shavuot and some of the things for Parshas Bamidbar and Nasso. When I spoke on Shavuot, one of the things I brought out was as follows. I said that we learn out from Shavuot a lot of the customs of a marriage. For example, the Medrash says that Hashem lifted the mountain over the heads of the Jewish people. What do we learn out from there? When a person gets married, they're supposed to stand under a chuppah. That was the chuppah. Mount Har Sinai was full of flowers. So we throw flowers. Our chuppah is full of flowers. Ashkenazim, when you walk down, you carry candles, because Har Sinai had fire candles all over. So many of the customs of the wedding we learn out from Shavuot and from Har Sinai, and that was the ultimate marriage. It was the marriage of Hashem and the Jewish people. And the ring that he used was the Torah. The Torah was the ring. That's what they say. So I talked about the Shidduch crisis for a moment. And maybe I mentioned this to you a few weeks ago, but I'll say it to you again. I mentioned that, today, a girl wants to get a shidduch, right? So what does she do? She goes to the rabbi, the shadchan, the shadchanit. So she goes to the shadchan and says, I'd like to get married. And a girl, 20, 21, 22. So the first question the shadchan asks the girl is, what kind of a boy are you looking for? You want a boy that's sitting and learning Torah? Yeshiva bacher? Do you want a boy in business? What kind of a boy do you want? So the girl says, I want the Gadol Hador. I want a Rosh Yeshiva. So the shadchan says, anybody who should this boy be like? You should be like Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. You should be like Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. Okay. So then the shadchan will say to you, next to the girl, where's your resume? Today before you go out, you have to prepare a resume. Yeah. Where's your resume? So she gives the resume. Shadchan looks at the resume, and the resume, he says, it says here you went to public school. Is that true? So the girl says, yeah, I went to public school, elementary and high school. Did you go to yeshiva? No. Did you go to seminary after graduation? No.
And you went to?
What does your father do? My father, he's the priest in the church down the street. But he's Episcopalian, so they're allowed to have wives and everything else. Are you Jewish? She says, no, not yet, but I'm willing to be Jewish. I'm prepared to convert. So the shadchan has to say to her, lady, you're not going to marry the Rosh Yeshiva, right? You're not going to marry the Gadol Hador. So Tzipporah says, no, I am. Just you wait, you'll see I'm going to marry the Gadol Hador. And who did Tzipporah marry? Moshe Rabbeinu. Was she Jewish? No. Did she go to yeshiva? No. What was her father? The priest. Now, fast forward 400 years, and we have another girl. And she also wants to get married. And she also wants to marry the head of the Sanhedrin. She wants to marry the Gadol Hador. And where did she go to school? Public school. And is she Jewish? Not yet. And it's even worse. She comes from a country that is on Israel's blacklist. You don't marry people from that country. From Moab. Right? What was this girl's name? Rus. Who did she end up marrying? Boaz. Who was Boaz? The head of the Sanhedrin. So I asked the question, what was it that Moshe saw in Tzipporah saw in Moshe, Rus saw in Boaz saw in Rus? What was it that convinced them that this was the perfect marriage? That's what I wanted to know. What was it? And after going through a bunch of different scenarios, we came out that there was a underlying chesed that he did one for the other. The pasuk says that when the shepherds came, they threw Tzipporah into the well. Moshe saved her life. When Moshe came to Yisro's house, Moshe knew right away Yisro was going to be his father-in-law, because what did Yisro do? Threw him in jail. Right? So when the father of the girl throws you in jail, you know he's your father-in-law. Right? That's what it is. Right? Otherwise, why would he throw you in jail? He threw Moshe in jail for years. And he wouldn't give Moshe any food, thinking Moshe would die in jail. How did Moshe survive? Zipporah snuck food in. So Moshe saved Zipporah, Zipporah saved Moshe. Yisro wasn't convinced. At the end, he said, you have to prove yourself. There was a stick in his garden, and that stick came from Yosef, that came from Yaakov, Yitzchak, Avraham, Shem, Noach, Adam, and Rishon. Nobody could take the stick out. Moshe comes, the stick jumps into his hands. That's how it was a sign. So there was Hakar Satov. Rus was very kind to Naomi. In return, Boaz was very kind to Rus, gave her food, gave her protection. When you have a relationship that's built on chesed, on kindness, when you have a relationship that's built on recognizing that the other person did something very good for you, that's a relationship that is made in heaven. That's what they saw. I brought down a story. There's a magazine called Ami Magazine. Have you ever heard of Ami Magazine? It's a magazine that they publish. Rabbi Gold gives the story. He says there was a couple married for many, many years, and they didn't have children. So they decided they were going to adopt children. So they went to the agency in New York that deals with adoptions, and they met with one of the social workers there. So it was very interesting how the article was written. The social worker handed out pieces of paper and said to everybody, write down the things you enjoy doing. So the guy writes down learning Torah. He was learning in Kollel, he enjoys learning Torah. The second thing he wrote down, doing acts of kindness. He was a volunteer for Tomchei Shabbos, acts of kindness. The third thing he writes down is singing. He had a very nice voice, so he would sing at bar mitzvahs and yard side singing. He was a chazan. Okay. Then the intake worker said to everybody, if you get a child, raising a child takes a lot of time. And maybe the child will be very difficult and you have to give the child time. Tell me something on your list you would give up for the child.
Singing.
So he wrote, he would give up singing. Okay, he would give up singing. Then she said, but sometimes it takes a lot of time. You have to give up more than one thing. What else would you give up? So now he and his wife are looking at the list and it says, what should we give up? Torah? Chesed? He said, no. So he said to her, we can't give up anything. She said, no, you have to make a choice. He says, no, I'm not going to make a choice. If I give up Torah or if I give up Chesed, I give up my life. I give up being Jewish. I refuse to make a choice. So she says, and he can't have a child. He says, well, who are you? You know, they get into a whole argument. So, he says, like, he needs anger management issues and stuff like that. In the end, they walked out. They walked out of the meeting. And Rabbi Gold writes that when they came home, there was a message on the machine. She had been to the doctor, to her OB-GYN. She found out she was expecting twins, a boy and a girl. And he says the boy represented Torah and the girl represented Chesed. So we see that, there's a certain element that Torah and Chesed go together, that you can't have one without the other. Torah and Chesed go together. And I went into a whole bunch of different stories of Torah and Chesed and kindness, of what it means and how it means and what it's all about. So, that was something that they found very, very interesting. I'll give you an example. One of the things I said was that as a people, we see things with our eyes. When we see something with our eyes, we immediately think we know everything, and then with our mouths, we express how we feel. I'll give you an example. In Israel, you talk about washing machines. In Israel, it's very common that when a woman does laundry, she hangs the laundry outside on the line to dry. So here's a guy sitting with his wife in the kitchen, they're having breakfast, and the neighbor across the street is hanging up her laundry. So the guy says to his wife, look at that lady, Miriam, look at that lady. She just did the laundry, and she's hanging up the laundry. The laundry is filthy. Look at those sheets. Look at that shirt. She doesn't know how to do laundry. Someone has to teach her how to do laundry. Okay. The next day, they're eating in the kitchen again. And they're in the kitchen eating breakfast, and she's out there again hanging laundry. And it's the same thing. Miriam, didn't you speak to her? So she says, no. Look at the laundry. It's dirtier when it came out of the washing machine than when it went in. Someone has to teach her how to do laundry. The next day, she's out there again hanging up the laundry, and the guy says, finally, The laundry is clean. Miriam, did you speak to her? No. The wife says, no, I just washed the window. Right? Was the laundry ever dirty?
No.
Never. What was dirty? The window! Okay, I just washed the window. So I said that we're very quick. We see something with our eyes. We're very quick to jump. We know the whole story. We know everything. We don't know the story. You know? There's a story with the Ephraim sitting in the washing machine. So much of life depends on what we see. So much of it depends on how we see things. So, that was something that I talked about. Then I said as an example, listen to this, I said that, I spoke on Shavuot, it was Saturday night. So I said that the whole world was watching on Shabbos. We weren't watching, but the whole world was watching a different wedding. That means we are celebrating the wedding of God, Hashem, the Torah, and Bnei Yisrael. But in the world, on Shavuot, Erev Shavuot, on Saturday, whose wedding was there? Prince Harry and Meghan and Markle, the American actress with from the House of Windsor. So I said the whole world was watching the royal wedding. We are preparing for the wedding of Hashem, Torah, and Israel. They're watching the royal wedding. Okay. I said, let's think about it for a moment. Let's say in a few weeks from now, a story comes out that either the husband or the wife, let's say the wife, had an affair. What would happen? Scandal. Horrible scandal. And it happened already to the House of Windsor, right? With Princess Diana and Charles. It happened already. This is not a new story. This would be a repeat of an old story. Tell me something. Next year at this time, do you think they would get together and watch the movies, the wedding videos?
No.
You think they would look at the pictures and think about the happy times they had? No. It would be unthinkable. That would be it. There would be a divorce, scandal, end of story. And yet, what?
We are going to do next year the same thing.
Right. And yet we got married at Har Sinai on Shavuot. And 40 days later, we worshiped the golden calf, which made us guilty of adultery. Right? It was a horrible sin. And what happens? Year after year, we look at the wedding videos again, and we re-celebrate the wedding again. So in the real world, if that happened, it's all over. And yet, we go back on Shavuot, and we again get married to Hashem and the Torah. So I said, what's the difference? And you have to understand that Hashem has people talking in his ear. The angels are saying, we told you don't give the Torah to the Jewish people. We told you it was a bad idea. Can't you see we were right? So the answer is that we say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, no, the angels are wrong. They don't have a Yetzer Hara. So it's very easy for them to say, we messed up. We have a Yetzer Hara, and the Yetzer Hara gets stronger and stronger and harder year after year. But what's the difference? Why did Hashem choose us? Hashem chose us because no matter what happens, no matter what mistakes we make, we are prepared to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and go back and start over again. That's what makes us different. That means we don't give up on the marriage. We don't give up on the relationship to Hashem. And Hashem doesn't give up on us. We pick ourselves up. We repeat what Rus said to Hashem. We repeat it every day. Where you go, I go. Don't persuade me to leave you. Your people are my people. Your God is my God. Where you lay down, I will lay down. Where you sleep, I sleep. Where you're buried, I will be buried. It means we don't give up. On Shavuot, what do we say? Ata b'chartanu mikol ha'amim. You chose us amongst all the nations of the world. Why? The short answer is because we don't shoot schools. That day there was a shooting in a school in Texas. 10 kids were killed. And we don't take babies to riots and then cry because the baby died. That baby should have been in a crib at home. And if the little kid should be in school. And then the next day we showed in the New York Times, look, they killed the baby. And the day after that, they go to the Palestinians and say, well, you martyred the baby, now I want $10,000, where's my reward? They want to collect the money for martyring the baby. We don't kill our children for $10,000. Okay? So there's a reason why we say, Ata b'chatom mikol ha'amim. Because when they are screaming, down with America, we sing, Ashreinu matov chalkeinu, how happy we are with our life. Umayofa Yerushaseinu, how good is our Yerusha, our Torah. So we sing songs about Hashem and we dance with the Torah. And they destroy their families and destroy their children. So I ended with that. I said, that's the difference. That's why Ata b'chatom mikol ha'amim. But it was a very interesting talk. Very well received. I was on my feet for hours and hours. I walked to Briarwood. I spoke there for an hour. Then I walked to Chofetz Chaim Yeshiva, and I spoke there for an hour. Then I walked to Rabbi Nasso, and I spoke there for an hour. So after I was on my feet for about 6.5 hours, I had to try to walk home. That was a challenge. It was 4 o'clock in the morning when I started to walk home. I got home by 5. It took an hour. It normally takes 45 minutes. It took an hour. Yeah, good exercise. I had enough exercise to last me for the next year.
What time
Was Mosei Shabbos.
What time was
Shacharit was at 5, so I made it just in time for Shacharit, because Nate's was 5:34. So they started maybe 5 to 5. But once I sat down, I didn't get up, I couldn't move. I was in such pain. As it is, my knee was hurting, so it was really very, very strange. Okay, a few thoughts on Parshas Bamidbar and then Nasso. Listen to this very fascinating question. It says that Moshe counted all the firstborns of Israel, the Bechorim. Vayhi kol Bechor Zochar, all the firstborns, b'mispar Shemos, from 1 month and up. That means, how many Jews were there in the desert? There were about 3 million Jews. Yeah. Right? 600,000 men, 600,000 women, 600,000 children under the age of 20, 600,000 men over the age of 60, about 3 million people. So they counted from 3 million people how many firstborns, and there were 22,273. That's how many firstborns there were.
That's the Levine.
And there were 22,300 Levim. There was 22,000 Levim. So there were 273 firstborns, more than the Levim, that had to do the Pidyon Haben. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now let's stop for a moment and let's think this through. Okay, I always like to take the story, take the words, and let's think about it. You have 600,000 men from ages 20 to 60. I assume each one of those men were married. So you had 600,000 families. After they got married, they probably had a child a year or two later. We don't find that in the desert they had difficulty having children. And in Egypt, right? So if you have 600,000 babies being born, remember, 600,000 families, what would be the average boy-girl relationship? How many boys would be first? How many girls would be first? 50-50. So there should have been 300,000 firstborns. You know what the Torah is telling me? That of the 600,000, 573 or something had a girl first. How is that possible? It meant that 95% of babies born were girls. Does it make sense? Statistically, it doesn't make sense. So the Targum Yonasan ben Uziel, he answers the question, but he wants to know, they should have had 300,000 firstborns. How come there are only 22,000? Very fascinating question. Mm-hmm. Very fascinating question. He says we forgot a medrash. The medrash says Paro had leprosy. Mm-hmm. Paro took a bath in the blood of children. How many children did they kill each day? 150 in the morning, 150 in the evening. 300 a day. Which in a year is 109,000, and over 3 years was 328,000.
Only boys?
Only boys he took, and only firstborns he took. So he says, you're right, there were over 300,000 firstborns, but they all got killed by Paro. So by the time they left Mitzrayim, there was only 22,000 firstborns left.
And plus they put in the voltage
right.
of the Bryks.
Yeah, so he says, Paro destroyed the firstborns of Israel. That means when you think about it, statistically, there should have been 300,000. And we know Paro took these babies for their bath. But we didn't know that the Targum they were all firstborn babies. He didn't take secondborns and thirdborns. He took the oldest from the family. So therefore he says that it's very fascinating that that's what happened to the firstborns. And it's a fascinating answer. Fascinating answer. He brings down over here, let's go Parshas Nasso for a moment. Let's go a little bit into Parshas Nasso. He brings down, for example, Kohos. There was 3 children of Levi, Gershon, Kohos, and Merori. Kohos carried the Aron Kodesh, the Shulchan, the vessels. Everybody thought, Kohos was special. Of the families, Kohos was the smallest. Why?
A lot of them died.
A lot of them died. So here you think Kohos is special, and they were. And they got a job. I wish I had their job. But the truth of the matter is, when you think about the job they got, it was a dangerous job. It might have been very nice to tell people, you know what I do? I carry the Aron Kodesh. But it's not nice when people are dying left and right because they don't know how to do the job properly, or they disrespect the Aron Kodesh. So he says, the Ramchal says you have to be very careful. We're very jealous of people right away. We jump right away to think, they're special, they're different. There are consequences. There's a balance. Always remember there's a balance in life. You have to keep that balance. Always keep that in mind. Things are not always the way they seem, and they don't always come out the way you think they're going to come out. Okay, Parshas Nasso. This past week's Parsha. So there's a few things I want to share with you. Let's go through a few things. Number one, we always read Parshas Nasso right after Shavuot. Okay, why? Some simple answers. Let's go through some answers. One answer is we just got the Torah on Shavuot, right? So it makes sense. The Shabbat, right after we got the Torah, we say to Hashem, bring it on. We want the biggest parsha in the Torah. We're ready to go into it. What's the biggest parsha in the Torah? Nasso, 176 psukim. So it makes sense. It's the first week after Shavuot, and we want the biggest parsha in the Torah. Okay, next. In Parshas Nasso, there's a bunch of different stories. You have the story of the Sota, a woman who is suspect of having an affair. Okay. Very complicated. We're going to talk about it soon very much. Okay? If such a woman is brought into the Beis HaMikdash and has to drink the water and goes through the whole ceremony, and you see it, the Torah says if you happen to witness it, it's your bad fortune to be there that day, what should you do? You should become a Nazir. And then we go to the Parsha of Nazir, which we're going to talk about in a moment. Okay. What does the word Nazir mean? The word Nazir, Nun Zayin Yud Resh, comes from the root word Zer. You know what Zer is? No, that's Zor. The Aron had a Zer Zahav Saviv. The Shulchan, what is a Zer? It's a crown. Okay, it's a crown. The word Nazir means you're a king. Why is a Nazir a king? Because a king rules. What does a Nazir rule over? His Yetzer Hara, his desires. He can't make himself tamei, he can't drink wine. That means when a person becomes a Nazir, he becomes like a king. He rules his Yetzer Hara. At Har Sinai, when we accepted the Torah, we were like kings. Mamlechet Kohanim, the kingdom of Kohanim. What happened? The angels came down and gave each Jew 2 crowns. One for Naaseh and one for Nishma. Okay? Who is the Nazir the most similar to? The Kohen Gadol. Right? The Kohen Gadol can't make himself tamei to anybody. The Nazir can't make himself tamei to anybody. So it's very interesting. At Har Sinai, we were Mamlechet Kohanim. We were like Kohanim. After the golden calf, what happened? We lost our crowns and we lost our special status. But Hashem said, any Jew who wants to be a Kohen Gadol can become a Kohen Gadol. How? Become a Nazir. You may not bring korbanot in the Beit HaMikdash, but you'll have all the rules of a Kohen Gadol. You can't make yourself tamei, you can't drink wine, Kohen Gadol doesn't drink wine. He says, just because you no longer were the Mamlechet Kohanim V'Goy Kadosh, but you could be. You could be as great as the Kohen Gadol. How is that? If you become a Nazir. Which means you become just like Adam and Chava. Because some people say the Eitz Hadas was a vine, was grapes. So a Nazir doesn't do that as well. Think about it further. Why should you become a Nazir? Because you lost the holiness of Har Sinai. What did Moshe do with the golden calf after he destroyed it?
Smashed.
He ground it into dust, threw it into water, and everybody had to drink from it, like the sota. If you believed in the golden calf, you died. If you were just faking it out because you were afraid, you survived. Right? So it's interesting. At Har Sinai, after the sin of the golden calf, we all became sotas. Those who saw it and wanted to become Kohen Gadol again would become a Nazir. What do we have this week? Right after Shavuot. Sota, Nazir. What comes after Nazir? Birkat Kohanim. So it's amazing how Parshas Nasso is almost a mirror of Har Sinai. Sota, Nazir, Birkat Kohanim. If you want to become like the Kohen Gadol, you can. How? Because you can become like the Nazir can become like the Kohen Gadol. So, I mean, it's just very, very interesting. Now, in my day, you have to understand, in my day, I'll give you just as a side story for a moment. When I was in elementary school, we had, in New York, the UJA had all across the country. I grew up in Denver, so I was in a day school in Denver, called the Chidon HaTanach. It was a Bible contest. And every school, if they wanted to participate, participated. What was the Bible contest? You had to learn one book of the Torah and one book of Nevi'im. And you took a test. And whoever got the highest score on the test in your school got a prize. Okay? So in my year, in 8th grade, the book that they chose was Vayikra. Okay. In Denver, Colorado, we never learned Vayikra. Vayikra is one of the hardest books, right? We learned Bereshit, Shemos, Bamidbar, some of Devarim. But by 8th grade, we had never learned Vayikra.
Third book,
Right? It's the third book. So I went ahead and I bought myself a Hebrew-English Chumash. Remember, in those days, there was no art scroll. Okay? It was a simple Hebrew-English Chumash.
By who?
By Benjamin Sharfman. I still have it. It's interesting. It's a Hebrew-English Chumash, and I keep it in my bookcase in my library, even though I have books downstairs. I don't have any room in the library, but that I keep. Why? Hakarat HaTov.
Which one is very art scroll?
What?
Art scroll.
Art scroll is much more accepted
Deeper?
now and better.
More
And,
deeper?
right. This was a very simple translation. And I taught myself Sefer Vayikra. I didn't have a teacher. No one taught it to me. I taught it to myself. Then the Navi was Malachim Aleph, Book of Kings 1. So there I had an English Hebrew also. Not art scroll. They didn't have art scroll those days. And I taught myself Malachim Aleph. So I had two books that we never learned in school. Came the test. Who could not make themselves tamei to anybody? Okay? That was the question on the test. After there was like 100 questions, that was one of the questions.
Kohen Gadol, no?
So the answer was, I wrote the answer, Kohen Gadol. I got it wrong.
Nazir?
No. The teacher giving me the test said that the answer says Kohen, not Kohen Gadol. So I says, but Kohen is not the right answer. Because Kohen could make yourself tamei to a father, mother, brother, sister, children. The right answer is Kohen Gadol. So the teacher said to me, I remember this to this day, goes back a few years. The teacher said to me, these answers come from New York. You think you're smarter than New York? I remember that answer. That was like really. It's not, New York made a mistake. I'm smarter than New York. One day I'll move to New York. I'll see if I'm smarter than New York. But, the answers is in the Torah. You're a teacher. Look, in the end, I disputed it. And everybody wrote Kohen. All the other kids, I wrote Kohen Gadol. I thought I was the only one that got it right. In the end, they gave us both credit. I could not get the teacher to accept that the answer sheet was wrong. Okay? It's just interesting,
How the other kids find out that it's Kohen?
They studied and they wrote the answer on the test, Kohen.
They studied with him before.
They studied on themselves also. Most people, in my class, there was 25 kids. In the end, maybe only 3 kids took the test.
So which one was the correct answer?
The correct answer is Kohen Gadol.
But the teacher was wrong?
And so was the answer sheet.
Huh?
So was the answer sheet from New York.
Yeah.
Right. But it didn't make a difference. If it came from New York, it had to be right. Does that make sense to you?
No.
Got it. Okay. We're going to go into Birkat Kohanim in a moment. The woman, the Isha Sota. Okay, let's think about this. It's a lady who seems to be overly friendly with a man. Right? Right, that's what's happening. A man comes home every day, and his wife is on the phone with a guy named, I don't know, Yitzchak or Yaakov, you know, a guy named Yaakov.
Binyamin.
Binyamin. Now, I was going to say Moshe, but I didn't want to pick on anybody. Okay. Guy comes home, and he's overly friendly. She's overly friendly. She's always on the phone. So the husband gets jealous. And the husband says to her, I don't want you talking to that man anymore. Okay. What happens? Not only that she continued talking to him, but she's meeting with him privately. Now in those days, there was no yichud, it was not forbidden. Yichud only started from the days of David HaMelech. Okay? So it wasn't as if she, so he accuses her of being unfaithful. Now, it says that she comes and she's going to drink the water. Between you, me, and the lamppost, if she really did something wrong, if she had an affair, would she be drinking this? No. She would say to her husband something like, our marriage was never good anyway, and this just straw that breaks the camel's back. I did nothing wrong, but I'm not going to go through this. I'm not going to play your games. I want out. And they will get divorced. End the story. The fact that she goes and drinks the water pretty much means that she believes she's innocent.
Yeah.
Or she just doesn't believe in God. I mean, nobody would do that. It's like sitting in the electric chair saying, okay, pull the plug, let's see what happens,
Maybe she believes in God, but she don't believe that the piece of the...
Right, but other people have gone through this, so she knows it works. So the Gemara says that if she couldn't have children, Hashem gives her a bracha, she'll have children. And if she had a hard labor, she will have an easy delivery. So Rabbi Eliyahu Napian says, hold on here. I understand she didn't do a terrible sin. But what are you giving her presents for? What are you giving her reward for? Is she a good person?
No.
No.
She was suspected.
She was suspected. She kept talking to the guy, and then she was alone with the guy. We're not talking about a woman who was being unfairly judged.
She caused the problem.
She caused the problem. From day one, the problem was hers. Maybe the husband was too controlling. But besides that, really, why are we giving her a prize? Why is she being rewarded?
Maybe she suspected falsely.
She suffered so much.
But she was suspected. Well, he saw her talking. It was always on the phone. There was always these text messages. She saw them together.
Because
What?
They got a friend.
Maybe they were just friends.
Because Kohen Gadol do a lot of things that she suffered too much. That's why.
Well, so there's two answers that are given, very fascinating answers. Rabbi Eliyahu Napian says that if she was alone with a man and she was tempted and she held herself back, that means she defeated the Yetzer Hara. If you defeat your Yetzer Hara, you get rewarded. And Rav Zilberstein said something very interesting. He says this whole thing with drinking the waters, everything, is very embarrassing. And when you embarrass someone and they turn red in the face, all their averos are forgiven. So she's rewarded because she was embarrassed and she survived the embarrassment. So it's very interesting. Yeah, they took her hair off and everything. So the fact that she was so embarrassed by it, it's something that is just fascinating. That's what Rav Zilberstein says. You can never underestimate what embarrassment does. Embarrassment brings you a lot of forgiveness. Okay, Birkat Kohanim. Let's see what we can tell you. There's some very interesting things that you have to know about Birkat Kohanim. You do Birkat Kohanim every day.
Yes.
We only do it on the
If Kohen
Chagim.
presents.
What?
If Kohen present.
If there's a Kohen present, that's correct. Okay, Perek Vov, Pasuk of Gimel. Let's talk about Birkat Kohanim for a moment. Perek Vov, Pasuk of Gimel. It says as follows: Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe Lemor. Daber el Aaron vel Bonov Lemor. Again, Lemor. It says the word Lemor twice. Ko sevorcho es b'nei Yisrael. This is how you should bless the Jewish people. Omar lem. Say to them these words: Yevorecho Hashem v'yishmorecho, Yorer Hashem ponav eilecho v'yichunecho, Yisar Hashem ponav eilecho v'yothem lecho shalom. First of all, how many words are there in Birkat Kohanim?
18.
15. Which is interesting because in davening there's many sections that have 15 words. In the Haggadah there's 15. The Chidah asks, why 15 words? He gives us such an unusual answer. He says, if you think about it, when Yitzchak gave birth to Yaakov and Esau, Yitzchak was 60 years old. How old was Avraham at the time? 160, right? Because he was 100 when Yitzchak was born. Avraham died at 175.
15.
So there was 15 years when around the table you had Avraham at the table, Yitzchak at the table, and Yaakov at the table. He says there were 15 years that in the world all three Avot, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, were together. Sarah had died already. Rivka was alive. Rachel and Leah were not in the picture yet. But he says, if you think about it, for 15 years, you could have walked in on a Shabbos table and enjoyed Zmirot with Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov singing. That would have been a very interesting sight to see. So the Chidah says 15 years, 15 words in Birkat Kohanim. Because they connect the Birkat Kohanim to Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov with the word Ko. There's a sefer, SHAVUOT Ko, fascinating sefer. He says as follows. He says, it says over here, Daber el Arav Labonov Lemor. And he repeats the word Omar Lahem Lemor. He says, what does the word Lemor mean?
Saying.
Okay, saying. Now, let's not speak Hebrew for a moment. Lamor.
L'amor.
What does Lamor mean?
L'amor.
No, she has it.
L'amor.
In Italian or in French.
Love.
Love.
Wow.
So the SHAVUOT Ka says the word amor, amore,
Yeah.
in the language of other nations like French and Italian means love. Now he says that's a fascinating thing. He says because Birkat Kohanim has to be said with love, right? Asher bereno, asher k'dishon mitzvosov v'tzivonu b'kdushos shel Aaron, l'vorech es Amo Yisrael, ba'ava. Where do you see that you have a chiyuv to bench Bnei Yisrael with love? Because it says amor. Amore means love. And then he says, and if you think it's strange that the Torah has codes in other languages, you forgot the fact that the tefillin is called totofot. And Rashi says that the word totofot in Katvi, which is an African language, means boxes. 2 boxes and 2 boxes, and the head tefillin has 4 boxes.
This is Rashi says, right?
That's what Rashi says. So we learn out tefillin has 4 boxes, the head has 4 compartments from the word totofot, two, which is an African word. It's not even Hebrew. And it's in the Torah. So he says, we see that the Torah sneaks in foreign languages. That the Torah is so universal that you can have a Hebrew word that has a meaning in Italian and French, and from that Italian-French meaning, love, we learn out of halacha. That when we make the bracha, the Kohanim say, L'vorech es Amo Yisrael ba'ahavo. That's mind-boggling.
Is a love to it.
What?
What is a love for it?
Love. Where do you see in the Torah that you have to bench with love? Amore.
In
Lemor
French,
is amor.
exactly, l'amour.
Lemor,
No.
l'amor.
Right.
L'amour.
L'amour means love.
So-
In French, it says it in the
So every
Torah.
time it says lemor, that means love.
So he says in Birkat
Only in
Kohanim,
Birkat Kohanim.
they learn out from the fact that they say the word lamor twice. Because you see, it says, Vaydaber Hashem Moshe lemor. Then it says again, Daber el Aaron Bonov lemor. Why say it again? Just don't say Daber el Bnei Israel v'omarta lehem. You don't say the word lamor twice. The second lamor here tells you, tell Aaron and his children, when you give the bracha, it has to be lamor,
With the love.
with love. How do we know this? Because the bracha says va'avo. Where do we put in any bracha? Do we say Ashek al netilas yadayim ba'ahavo? We don't say that anywhere. No, the Vorach Zamoida, do we say, if anything, do we say the Birkas Torah with ahava, with love? Nothing. The only mitzvah we have with love is Birkat Kohanim, and we put it in the bracha. We don't say Asher Kishon B'Tzonu Al Kisu Yadam Ba'ava B'Shluach Hakan Ba'ava. We don't do it.
But we
So he says, where do we know it's with love? Because it says Lamor. What? Lamor means to say. No, Lamor means with love. In what language? French? Italian? That's what he brings down. It's an amazing, it's wild. Okay, listen to this. Listen to this. In Masechet Ta'anit, I have a whole bunch of Gemaras here. Listen to this Gemara. Tanya, Omer Yeshua ben Levi Mishum Bar Kafra. Why is Birkat Kohanim written right after Parshas Nazir? You have Sota, Nazir, Birkat Kohanim. To tell you, just like a Nazir can't drink wine, the Kohen, when he goes up to do Birkat Kohanim, can't drink wine. Okay? Okay. Sounds obvious, right? What halacha do we learn from this? It's a fascinating halacha. Listen to this halacha. We, Ashkenazim, do Birkat Kohanim on the Chagim. Right? We'll do it Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuot. When do we do Birkat Kohanim? On Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, on all these Chagim?
Musaf.
At Musaf. There's one exception. On Simchat Torah, we do Birkat Kohanim at Shacharit. You know why? Because in the olden days, after Shacharit, we took out the Torah. With Simchas Torah, right? When you called someone up to the Torah, after they did the Aliyah, we would give them a little glass of whiskey, and we would say, make a l'chaim, and they would drink the whiskey. So who would drink the whiskey? Everybody who got an Aliyah, means the Kohanim drank. If the Kohanim drank the whiskey, they can't do Birkat Kohanim at Musaf. So on Simchat Torah, we do Birkat Kohanim at Shacharit before Kriyat Torah, before they drink. Because that's what they used to do. Today we don't do it as much. So it's fascinating that because it says here a Kohen cannot drink and do Birkat Kohanim, that's why we do it. Then the Gemara says further. Listen to the next one. Okay, the next one. The Gemara asks, if a Kohen is a Balmum, has a blemish, something wrong with his fingers or his hand, he broke his foot, can he do the Avodah in the Beit HaMikdash?
No.
Can he go up for Birkat Kohanim?
No.
So the Gemara says, Af Kohen Mevorech Balmum. Even a Kohen with a mum can do Birkat Kohanim. Why? Because it's connected to Nazir. Let's say a person wants to become a Nazir.
Not temporary, before he cannot do it at that time.
What was that?
If he has a broken hand.
Yeah, while he is broken, he cannot. Let's say a person becomes a Nazir, has a broken foot, says, I want to become a Nazir. Is he a Nazir?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. You can have a broken foot, a broken hand.
Yeah.
And since Birkat Kohanim comes after Nazir, the Gemara says, just like a Nazir can have a mum, so the Kohen who does Birkat Kohanim can have a
With the broken hand.
with a broken hand. So it says, Kimo Nazir, Afim hu balmum, Makabalot of Nazirut, he can accept Nazirut. This is from the Torah Tamima. Ka Kohen, Afim hu balmum, Mivorech. He can do Birkat Kohanim. So if you have an older Kohen, it's very hard for him to stand, he can do Birkat Kohanim. It's very hard for him to hold up his hands, he can do Birkat Kohanim. I mean, it's still, I'm sure there's a machlok, and some people say yes, some people say no.
Yeah, my rabbi said no.
What?
His Kohen, he said no.
Who said no?
Rabbi Daniel.
He's Kohen. He said he can't do Birkat
No,
Kohanim?
the old who cannot stand up, or his broken hand or broken hand, cannot do that.
Okay, so it says over here, it says, V'nikshu ha-kohanim b'nei Levi l'shor l'vorach b'shem Hashem. Dorish sham b'sifri ainli ela tamimim. Kohen without any blemish. Balei mumim minayin. How do we know balei mum? Tamalomer b'nei Levi. It compares them to b'nei Levi. Just like a Levi can do the avodah with being a Baal Mum, so can the Kohen. So the answer is that the Torah Tamima says that a Kohen Baal Mum can. Black and white.
Gemara,
I have photocopy.
Gemara.
It's from the Tosfos, the Gemara, everything. Okay, next.
Maybe I misunderstood.
Next, it says, Ko Savorchu, who should give Birkat Kohanim? Kohanim.
Kohanim.
Atem v'lo zorim. You should give Birkat Kohanim, not strangers. That means when you do Birkat Kohanim, who goes up front? Kohanim.
Kohanim.
Let's say there's no Kohanim. Do you say, okay, there's no Kohen today, I got the Aliyah Kohen, so I'm going to go up?
No.
You can't volunteer, right?
Right.
So they ask the question, if that's true, then how come when we bless our children Friday night, some fathers do Birkat Kohanim? And how come when a Chatan is standing under the chuppah, we do Birkat Kohanim? The halacha says Birkat Kohanim is restricted to Kohanim. And if you're not a Kohen, what are you doing giving Birkat Kohanim?
That's with a bracha. That's without.
Does it make a difference?
Yeah.
That means if I make a bracha over something, I'm not allowed to, but if I do it without a bracha, I can. I mean, if I don't make a bracha on the food, I can eat pig?
It's different.
What's different?
Here, if a Kohen does actually, he's saying Hashem and then saying the name of
Kosev Borchu, Zor Hanosei et Kapo, a stranger, not Kohen, who lifts up his hands over Bezeh. Let's say anything
So
about a
the list of his
bracha.
hands. But when you're giving blessing your children, you're not second up. You just put your hand on it.
You're putting your hand on. You're not lifting your hand to put your hand on?
It's different.
So he brings down over here a story he heard from the Vilna Gaon, that the Nodebi Yehuda, Rav Yehuda Landau, when he was getting married, his father brought him to the Vilna Gaon for a bracha. The Vilna Gaon says, I'm not a Kohen, and therefore only put one hand on his head and did Birkat Kohanim. And the Vilna Gaon says, what's forbidden is to use both your hands. But if you only use one hand, you're allowed,
Even if you're not a Kohen?
even if you're not a Kohen.
How?
Like this.
For the
You
kids.
still not say.
For kids.
So just tell you what the
For
Vilna
kids on Friday.
For kids on Friday night.
So
it's
with
a-
two hands, no.
That's what the Vilna Gaon says. Rav Yaakov Emden writes, no, you should use both your hands because you want to give a really strong bracha.
Yeah.
The truth is that when the Kohanim do Birkat Kohanim, they take their two hands and they make it into one hand. Right? By doing this, they have, it looks like one big hand. So they put the hands together because it says Yodov singular, so they take their two hands and make it into one. But the Vilna Gaon comes up with a very interesting thing. He says that if you use only one hand, you don't violate the halacha.
Kohanim? One hand you could do?
Not the Kohanim. The Vilna Gaon was not a Kohen. The Vilna Gaon was a Bechor, but he was not a
Actually,
Kohen.
regular, just like for your
A
children.
regular person can give a bracha to his children. The Vilna Gaon says using one hand, it doesn't violate the halacha.
And the
What if you have many children?
They usually don't put hands together. They do like this.
No,
What if you have many
you're not
children?
looking. You're not supposed to look, right?
You said you can look.
Because the Shekhinah.
They
remember
say
last
that
year you said-
the Shekhinah is one, but they really, it's not so much the Shekhinah, it's because of distractions.
What
None
is
of them
it-
keep
what is
like
many
this.
children?
All
They
of
need
them
one
do
hand.
like this.
No, they're supposed to go like this. They're supposed to put their hands together like this.
What if you have many children? How are you supposed to do
Yeah.
it with one hand? What's the Kohen?
One kid at a time.
The children's gonna be cool.
You confuse me. A guy has 4 children. You're going to give all your 4 children the bracha at one time? You're not going to give each child a separate bracha?
Some people do it all at once.
What?
Some people do it all at once.
Who does it all at once?
I don't know. Some.
Some people.
How your father?
No. That's fine.
You should give each one of your
2 at a
sons
time.
and daughters, God willing, you should have many sons and daughters. Amen. And you should give each one of them their own bracha. And what the custom is, amongst Ashkenazim is after you give your child a bracha Friday night, the child gives a kiss where?
And
On your hand. And Sfardim have the custom also, and Ashkenazim as well, we do it as well, that after the child gives a kiss to your hand, the child goes over to their mother and gives a kiss to her hand. Does your father give you a bracha Friday night? Do you kiss his hand afterwards? Do you kiss your mother's hand?
No.
Sometimes?
Depends on his mood.
One second.
Depends on his mood. Eh?
Why? Only because some people do, some people don't. That's why sometimes.
yeah.
You know you're going down over here. You know you're
Not everybody
all
does
the
the
time.
mom hand. Not everybody does that.
not everybody does that. That is true. But the custom is, amongst Svardim especially, they were that they gave a kiss to the mother's hand. I don't know if the Chidon talk about it, people talk about it. They give a kiss to the mother's hand. But amongst even Ashkenazim, which is not so common, they do that. If you get called up to the Torah, when you come down from the Bima, you go to your father and kiss his hand?
Regularly?
Yeah. Shabbos in Shul, if you got an Ali and your father's in Shul, do you go back to your father and kiss his hand?
No.
It's interesting.
When he gets Aliyah, I kiss him.
Okay, when he gets an
I
Aliyah
kiss
and he comes out, you kiss his hand.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because they talk about in halacha not to kiss a relative in the
Shul.
Beit Shul because you're supposed to shul up to Hashem and not to a relative. But Sfardim do
Yeah.
because they feel that's kavod, that's
Yeah.
Hashem's wish. Now Ashkenazim don't do it that much, but Sfardim do. For that reason. Okay, but it's not so simple. You think that these customs are just out there. They're rooted in some serious sources.
Not Cohen. Friday night can do give the
So
blessing
the
to
custom is that
And
we
the-
bless our children.
bracha of
Ayisim
faith.
chalakim k'Ephraim v'Manasseh. If you look in the Siddur, the next words after that is Yevonecha Hashem
Yeah.
v'Yishmerecha.
That's why before you said the Kohen bracha, you should say once another prayer or
Right.
some
And
sentence from
on
Torah.
Yom Kippur, Erev Yom Kippur, we give the bracha also the same thing. So again, the Vilna Gaons of the opinion that non-Kohanim are not supposed to do it. But if you use only one hand and not two hands, you're allowed to do
Can
it.
you give the bracha or the Yisimcha in the Shabbat day?
Give what bracha?
Yisimcha.
You can give the bracha. The reason why we give it Friday night, I saw, is because Friday night people are calm. They're not working. It's Shabbat. They're
No rush.
relaxed. When Friday night comes, people are they're not nervous. They're not tense. They're not stressed.
Relax.
Right.
Mom say,
And you're supposed to give a bracha when you're happy, when you're relaxed. Shabbos day, people are exhausted. They want to get through the meal quickly. They want to go to sleep. Friday night seems to be
Are you allowed?
What?
Are you allowed?
I'm sure you are. I'm sure as a father,